Hi and welcome back to Amanda's Travels. As you can see, I'm not travelling at this moment. I haven't really been travelling for a week or so, and that's because I've been at work, so I haven't really had a chance to film anything exciting. So I thought I'd take the opportunity to answer a few of the questions that people have sent in their droves. Not that many, but there are a few. People are curious about what it's like to travel in a place where people don't speak your favourite language and that kind of thing. So I jotted a few of them down and I'm going to try and go through some of the answers. So the first question has been, well, what am I doing here? Am I on holiday or not? And the answer is, no, I'm not on holiday, mostly. I'm here to work. And the background to that is that for 25 years I was a salaried scientific civil servant. And I designed and ran and took part in various field studies into agricultural pesticides and farming and mammals and birds, wildlife. And the results of those studies went into the decisions that government regulators have to make, not just in the UK but in other parts of Europe, about how to regulate those agricultural pesticides. Are you allowed to use them or not? Are you allowed to use them on certain crops, different times of year, different formulations, all that kind of stuff. They can affect wildlife. We'd like to have the cheap, reliable food, safe food that pesticides can provide, but we like to have mammals and birds in our farmland as well. And the kind of science that I've been doing all my life is aimed at trying to make those two things fit together in a reasonably balanced way. So that's what I've been doing. And in 2016 or thereabouts, I stopped being a salaried civil servant and went freelancing. And then I've gradually moved since then kind of sideways from actually designing and running and taking part in the studies to making films about the studies. And the films go to those same regulators and also higher ups in chemical companies and so forth. And they can get so much more information from a film than they can from just reading a printed technical report, and people generally find it useful. Useful enough that they pay me to make the films, and that's why I'm here, because I'm filming with a field team that's working on sunflower drillings, and I'll be here for another week or 10 days. And then I'm moving to another site in Germany where I'll be working on maize drillings with a different company, different team, different film. This kind of travel, well, my van's ideal for that. If I were to try and fly with my film kit, and it's more than just a mirrorless camera, I have a fairly large camcorder and a selection of lenses for filming wildlife with, and tripods, and a drone, and a laptop computer, and all sorts of other odds and ends. And it gets quite bulky. So flying with all of that is A, expensive, because it needs flight cases for everything. You daren't trust them to baggage handlers without everything being flight cased to the hilt. And that then becomes bulky and heavy. And yes, you can get some reductions if you can show that you're some sort of press member. But nonetheless, it's expensive and difficult. And I don't really want to go there. Plus the fact that if I fly somewhere, when I arrive, I'm really relying on the field team I'm working with coming and fetching me from the airport and then chauffeuring me around for all the time I'm there. And they're usually pretty busy anyway, and they might have to provide me with accommodation, or I'll have to rent a car myself and find some accommodation for myself. Often they're working in out of the way sorts of places, not really holiday areas, where finding accommodation to rent isn't straightforward. So the van's ideal because I can drive to where I want to be. I'm not relying on the field team to give me any transport or any accommodation. I have it all right here. And of course this particular mobile accommodation is four-wheel drive and goes pretty much anywhere, so it really works quite well for me. By the time you've taken into account the cost of flying, taxis to get to and from airports, extra baggage costs because of the kit, renting a car, finding accommodation, driving around, it's probably not any more expensive to come overland with my own camper than it would be to fly and do all that stuff. Another question I've had from Brits, obviously, is isn't it tricky driving on the right all of a sudden? Well, honestly, not really. I find it becomes second nature very quickly. Even the first time I did it, it really didn't give me very much trouble. Roundabouts can be a bit frightening the first couple of times you encounter one because everything is going the other way, but you quickly get your head around it and you just do it automatically without thinking. I find actually that it takes much longer for me to learn to look in the proper direction when I want to cross the road on foot than it does to get the hang of driving on the right side and going round roundabouts anti-clockwise. not as hard as you think. Cost of fuel was another question I had. Is it cheaper here? Yes, it is, but not by very much. It's in this part of France, I'm finding it's between about €1.70 and €1.80 a litre for diesel, and at home it's about that price in pounds. So that the price in euros comes to about £1.50 a litre. So it's a little bit cheaper, but not that much. In France at the moment, since the 1st of April, the French government has rolled back the tax on petrol and diesel by 15 cents a litre. So I'm enjoying a slight discount thanks to the French government as long as I'm here. Can I speak French is a question that comes up sometimes, or German, or Dutch, or whatever it happens to be where I'm going. Italian, back in 2019, or Spanish. I can speak a bit of French, enough to get by in shops and restaurants and that kind of thing. I find that some rural French accents defeat me for a while. They have a particular twang around here which can be a little hard to follow. And I quickly get lost in conversations with farmers because they talk about birds and machines and crops and things, and they didn't teach me the words for those things at school. So yeah, I kind of get by in France. Don't really speak any other languages at all, but I've not really found it to be too much of a problem. You can convey a remarkable amount with a few phrases out of a phrase book or from the internet, or just by pointing at things or holding up fingers. Pump number 2, please. That kind of thing. People probably think it's stupid, but you know, people are much more used to foreigners here that don't speak the right language than we are in the UK. So they're used to people that can't say the right thing, and they're used to helping them out. It's really not a big issue. Am I using campsites while I'm over here? Not very much is the honest answer. Sometimes I do. They're easy to find, they're well signposted, tourist boards and that kind of thing, Hotel de Ville, that sort of thing, have them all signposted, and there's umpteen websites which will help you find them. In general, they are not like touring campsites at home in that typically well over half a campsite will be taken up by permanently stationed caravans, mobile homes, even kind of permanently stationed tents, and clearly people rent those for the season or many seasons and just come for the odd weekend here and there. But they usually have a part that's set aside for touring people with tow caravans or motorhomes, and you can usually find your way on those. They often don't bother with booking, so you won't be sort of faced with, well, have you booked? Well, why not? They won't be surprised if you roll up out of the blue, and if they haven't got space, there'll be another campsite not very far away. They're like kind of top-end British campsites in that there's usually a swimming pool, there's usually a games room, often there's a restaurant or a pub or a bar or something like this. But of course they have showers and toilets and water and a place to empty your onboard toilet and all that kind of thing. So everything you need will be there. They're not hard to find, and of course they're used to foreign travellers, so language is never really a big issue. I'm not using campsites very much because everywhere outside the UK, it seems, in Europe, there are things which the French like to call aire de camping-car, or in the Netherlands they call Wohnwagenstellplatzes, and in Germany they call Wohnmobilstellplatzes, or possibly I've got that the wrong way around. Anyway, motorhome stopover places. At the minimum, it'll be a legal place to spend a couple of nights, just might be a corner of a car park or something like that. Or they can be really quite luxurious with water and free internet and electricity and a toilet dump station, you name it, showers. Sometimes they're absolutely free. This one is free. Sometimes it's maybe somewhat anywhere up to about €10, and sometimes you might put a couple of euros in a machine that issues you a ticket and then you're entitled to stay. Sometimes you just need a couple of euros to get water and electricity. Sometimes you don't need to pay anything at all. Often they're provided by the municipality, like this one is. Sometimes they're attached to tourist attractions or restaurants, things like that. And usually for those you would need to pay. But it's never very much. They're always friendly, the neighbours are usually friendly, and the number of them that are free is quite remarkable. So you can travel, you know, the length and breadth of Europe and never really pay to stop the night if you want to. This one's pretty good. It's by the river here in Florence, and there's just behind the camera, which you can't see, is a dump station where I can get fresh water and I can empty the toilet and that sort of thing. That's about it, apart from a place to stop. But that's, if you're in a motorhome or a well-equipped camper like mine, that's all you need. Does my van have a shower and a toilet and all that kind of thing? Well, I do have a toilet, and really emptying it's not all that bad. You put toilet fluid in there so it doesn't smell. It's got a special cunning valve arrangement so that when you empty it, it doesn't splash or glug. So it's really not that traumatic. I don't have a shower on board, but I do have a big water tank and a kettle, and I can always have a strip wash if I need to. Washing clothes? Well, many supermarkets in Europe have, in the car park, there'll be a sort of coin-operated do-it-yourself washing machine and dryer. So you can just go there, put your clothes in, put in a couple of euros, go and do your grocery shopping, and when you come back, your clothes are all done. Very straightforward. Of course, you can go to a campsite where you can get a shower and wash your clothes. And many people travel for months and just go to a campsite once a week or so, maybe every 2 or 3 days, get a shower, everything they need that way. And the rest of the time, they're just staying in lay-bys or somewhere in the forest or the mountains where nobody knows and nobody cares, and then going to a campsite when they need mod cons, so to speak. Because I'm travelling between field teams who have their own rented accommodation, I can usually blag a shower or a go with the washing machine while I'm working with them, so I'm covered that way. The last group of questions are all about travelling with this gentleman and the legalities and paperwork required to do that. I'm going to make that the subject of a different video, so we'll come back to that another time.